the room with Connie and Laura Thompson, two passionate co-founders behind the Three Ships Beauty brand. They met in 2016 and bonded over the frustration of not being able to find the affordable natural skincare that they were looking for. So with just $4,000, they started to formulate products in Connie's kitchen. Three Ships is now a nationally recognized award-winning brand that's on track to generate up to $20 million in sales this year. Both Connie and Laura have appeared on Dragon's Den and have been featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. Beyond their incredible achievements, they're both wonderful humans as well. They love wellness, travel, and spending time with the people they love. They also happen to be friends of mine. They're honestly two of the most hardworking and inspiring women that I know, and I can't wait to take you in the room with me as I join them inside Connie's living room. We're gonna get cozy and have a great chat, so let's go. So fun fact, I'm not actually a fan of matcha.
Now, after trying this, you will be.
I'm not a fan either.
Oh my gosh,
Say.
there's two of us.
There's
Okay,
two of
I think we're the
us.
only two women in the world that don't love matcha right
Everyone's
now.
obsessed with it these days, and I don't get it.
Have you
I grew
always
up
liked
with
matcha? So that's different because
See,
you're not
yeah.
jumping on a bandwagon. I do feel like there's a lot of matcha drinkers right now that like love it, and I think it has health benefits. And I had it in Japan and I liked it, but I'm not like a go-to
Every morning.
matcha girly every
Yeah.
morning. No.
And I actually,
love
to be
coffee.
fair, I don't like matcha when I get it out at coffee shops because I find a lot of the times, I always get matcha lattes and I find that they put way too much milk in there. So
Yeah.
it's literally just milk and it's like a white drink. Or they also don't know how to whisk it properly. A lot of the times
we
at
have, like,
cafes,
your-
they'll like do a circular direction versus you're supposed to do more of an M shape. To, like,
Ooh,
really
we're
get
getting
rid
the
of the
real
little
matcha
bits.
connoisseur.
Or
Expectations for this
some people
then.
will use like what's
Maybe
it called?
she'll convert us.
Yeah,
Maybe the best matcha
actually.
we've ever had.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, no pressure.
Okay, so it's my first time making it for someone else other than Jason.
Ooh,
so
okay.
This will be fun.
Okay.
So the first thing that I do is I always measure out 1 teaspoon
Okay.
of matcha. So I know a lot of people do like half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon, or some even do 2, but I think that's
Well,
a
that's
lot,
strong.
and that would get you really wired.
Yeah.
You also want to use ceremonial grade matcha.
Yep.
I actually don't love this one as much. My mom got me this from Japan, but I find that this one isn't even as high quality as some of the other ones I've had. And you can tell by the color of the matcha. So this one is like a little slightly yellow, even though it's mostly green. You really want like a deeper green, but I think it's pretty good for this purpose. So just take like around a teaspoon. Okay, so like around there.
Okay.
And then what you want to do is you want to put it through this. And the reason why is you want to get rid of all the clumps. So if you're making matcha and you don't, put it through the sieve, then what actually ends up happening is you have lots of clumps and you get like a really chalky flavor. So I just like use a teaspoon and I run it through.
Okay.
And you can see actually like the powder at the bottom is
yeah.
a lot more fine,
Oh yeah, it's
right?
so much finer.
Versus what you had in the bag. So that's the first step. And then while that's going, you want your temperature of your water that you're going to pour in to get to 80 Celsius.
Okay, so this is like a proper
Yeah.
matcha.
Scientific
Right?
experiment
Yeah.
at this point.
I know, it has to be 80.
Laura knows the science behind it.
Yeah.
She's like, this is
Yeah.
making me so
Yeah, you're like,
happy.
wait, I like this now.
Back in the lab.
And the reason why you want it to be 80 is if it's over 80, then it actually will burn the matcha. So
Oh,
your
wow.
matcha will taste burnt.
Okay.
So like, I'm not that specific. If it's 82 or like 83, it doesn't really matter. But if you're technically doing it right, it should be 80.
Okay.
So
I
right
love this
now, looking at the
beautiful
kettle.
vessel.
Oh yeah, I actually got
This
that in
is pretty.
Japan.
Oh, it's so
So
pretty.
this was made by an artisan there who had been doing like ceramics for like 50 plus years. And this is like a matcha bowl.
Beautiful.
And I actually did a matcha ceremony when I was there, which is so fun, like learning all the history behind it. There's actually specific ways you're even supposed to hold the bowl when you're making matcha for someone. I don't remember, but you're supposed to like rotate it and
That's
everything
such
as
a beautiful like Japanese
tradition.
ritual,
Yeah.
which is so
as like a sign of respect.
Yeah, I love what goes
So
into
the water
it.
right now is at 83.
Okay.
So while we wait, this is like, I think the star ingredient other than the matcha.
Famous bar milk.
Yeah, I feel like there should
Nut
be an
bar.
ad really for nut bar.
Yes.
But our freezer is literally stocked with bar milk. And it's such a good blend. I think it's like, we actually can get it from the freezer. Just so I don't misspeak. But it has a bunch of different ingredients. So organic cashew, almond, coconut, maple syrup, and sea salt. So it's like really clean ingredients. And it just has like a really nice nutty texture and flavor. So when I'm making a matcha just for myself, I'll only use half of it just because like it's a lot and you don't need it.
Okay.
So And also you can take it straight from the freezer if you want. So I actually defrosted this before you came over, and so it's like slightly soft.
Okay.
But if you don't have time in the morning and you just have it in the freezer, I just put it in water and then it'll defrost.
I've done that, yeah.
So I'll take the cup that I'm going to use. This is from Prince Edward County.
Beautiful. I recognize that actually.
For you. Yeah.
Yeah. Really
and I'll
pretty.
pour about half. And what you want to do with the bar milk is you want to add some water to it before you microwave it. I just put it in the microwave. I know you could technically like heat it up on the stove, but for me, I just add a little bit of water and then microwave it, and then the water should be at the right temp. So I put that in for like 30 seconds. And then the kettle's at 81, so good enough. Okay, I don't know if you're going to be able to taste the difference. Okay.
Well, we definitely will not.
Yeah.
We will not know.
I'm a coffee drinker.
Yeah.
So this
All
step.
this extra effort is
I know. I'm like, I would have just mixed the milk and matcha and called it a day.
Oh my gosh,
Anyway,
no.
Maybe that's why we don't like matcha.
Yeah. So then what you want to do is you want to pour the water into the matcha bowl, and you don't want to pour like too much where you're drowning it, but you want to cover at least the surface.
Wow.
So you can already see it's like turning a darker green. And then what you do is you want to whisk in like M-shaped directions, like M/W going back and forth.
This is very therapeutic, I feel like.
It is.
Yeah.
Like you really get in the zone. And what I learned is you do it just for like max 15 seconds because you don't want to over whisk it. So eventually you're going to get to a point where it's like kind of frothy. Like you can kind of see like the bubbles are starting to form.
Yeah.
And then at that point you're pretty much done. So I just like leave this on the side.
Okay.
Grab the bar milk, which is heated up. And then I just pour the matcha straight into the bar milk. So you can see it's like really nice and green.
Yeah.
So cute. And then I take a little bit of water just to get the excess, get the excess matcha out of the bowl and just like pour it in.
Okay.
And then that's honestly it. Just give it a
This
stir.
is
and
the
then you're
infamous
good.
matcha.
Yeah, the infamous.
Okay.
Yeah, and there you go.
All right.
Okay, Palak.
Should I do a taste
Yes.
test?
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, hopefully it's not too hot for you.
I do love a hot tea, so it's okay.
And, like,
Scorching.
sometimes-
81 degrees.
Yeah.
Precisely.
You're like, okay, better
Well, it smells
you better
nice.
have a great reaction.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I want to know your honest opinion.
Okay, fine. Okay.
You're like, pretty good.
No, that is pretty good though. I like it because it's not so strong.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's really nice, actually.
And, like,
and the temperature is great.
Yeah, it is. And what I really like also sometimes
I'm not
if
lying, I promise.
Yeah, you're like crossing your fingers. But also when I'm like craving something a little sweeter, I'll add a little bit of maple syrup.
Yeah, that's nice.
So like half a teaspoon, but like the bar milk itself already has a little bit of
And I
sweetener.
think that's why, because I usually find matcha is a bit bitter, and so this one is not.
Yeah.
Good job.
There you go.
I'm only gonna have matcha at your house.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd love to get started by chatting with you guys like on your story of how you first met. So I know that you were introduced through a mutual friend, but tell me a little bit about how all of that came to be.
So a lot of people assume that Connie and I were friends before starting the business because we're so close now. We're best friends now, but we were strangers when we first started the brand. So I met Connie through a mutual friend of ours. I knew him from my undergrad at U of T. We both did engineering together, and he knew Connie from grade 7 all the way back in elementary school. And he remembered her as this beauty junkie who would come home and put mashed bananas and avocados on her face and just loved all things skincare. Yeah, she had a real reputation. And so when I told him about this idea I had for a line of natural skincare products, he was like, you should meet my friend Connie. She loves natural skincare, been using it since she was like very, very, very young. Do some market research with her. And so that was why we originally met up, with just for me to show her the first product I created in my own kitchen. And then we ended up clicking. This little 45-minute sushi dinner turned into like, we call it our founder first date, very lovingly.
Yes.
It was like 3 hours. We got kicked out of the sushi restaurant because we exceeded our table limit. Had to go to Starbucks across the street.
Which is now gone.
Which
so
is now
we've
gone.
outlived the Starbucks.
Yeah, which is
That's
quite
a
an
good sign.
accomplishment. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And we really got really deep into who we are as people and what motivates us, what our definitions of success were as individuals. And it was just this immediate connection that I knew after that first meeting that this was going to be my co-founder.
Wow.
Knew that I wanted a co-founder in the business. It was never a question. And so offered Connie to join me 50-50 within this business. It was a little more than an idea at that point. She said yes. And the next day we got building.
It's crazy to me that it happens so quickly. And
Very
also for your
uncommon.
friend to recognize that there's something there because that friend introduced you, and if it wasn't for that connection, then this might have never happened because you needed someone. Yeah, exactly. And I want to know what your first impressions were of each other, like honest impressions.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I think that Laura, I remember thinking she was really smart when I first met her, which I still do, and super friendly, but also like a little intense, which is good because like we were 23 at the time.
Wow.
And you want someone who's intense, who's like all in when you're
Yeah.
building something with
that's
them.
true.
So I actually think that like that was such a great first impression for me, because you don't want to like half-ass something that you're going to do. So great
absolutely.
co-founder first impression.
Yeah, remember Connie being very type A, that like as soon as we were introduced, within like 30 minutes, she's like, "Hi, Laura," like immediately replies, starts lining up a reservation, like
Oh, that
sends a
is
list of
Connie.
options. Like,
I don't know anyone who sends a calendar invite as fast as Connie.
yeah, and we'll change it. If it's delayed by 10 minutes,
Oh,
we'll
yes.
update the calendar
Yes.
invite by the
That
10 minutes.
calendar is on point.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
owned today's calendar invite. Otherwise, I would have updated
It would have been updated quicker. I'm
Yeah.
definitely type A, but not as type A.
Connie is
probably.
definitely a very type A, super organized hit person. So that struck me right away. And then very high energy as well. Like loves being around people, really positive energy, really optimistic as a person. Very, very hardworking, like mentioned some of her aspirations in life and a little about her family background and how her parents were immigrants. And she's always admired how hard they work. So those are probably the things that struck out to me.
We talked a lot about our shared life values at our co-founder first date, which I think was like one of the big reasons why we knew that we'd work well together too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like tied to the question that you just asked, but we realized like we're complete opposites in terms of skill sets and personality types. So like we asked each other's our Myers-Briggs personality types.
So nerdy.
Yeah, I know. What a fun co-founder first date.
Yeah, truly.
But I'm an ESFJ, Laura's an INTP. So like that really worked because when you think about co-founders, you don't want to work with someone who's exactly like you.
Absolutely.
We also realized like me being the business grad, Laura being the chemical engineer, there were opposite sides of the business that we were interested in working on. But then with our shared life values of like hustle and like our family values are very aligned. And we knew that we both wanted to start families one day. So like that was so important because like, again, it just makes you a really strong co-founder duo.
It's incredible that you covered all of this in 3 hours.
Yeah,
It was very efficient.
Yeah.
It was kind of rapid fire because again,
Yes.
once you kind of realize that we were both like interested in the same thing of entrepreneurship, Connie kept dropping these hints of, "Oh, I've always wanted to start something, but I just don't have any ideas." And I was like, "I know what you're implying." And then you start to get really intentional with the conversation, and I think it just flowed and happened, which was very lucky. She was the first person I'd met that I was like, "This could be my co-founder." I know it takes a lot of founders years and years to find somebody. And then oftentimes it doesn't work out. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. And I think that a lot of the qualities that you noticed in each other at the beginning still hold true.
yeah, they
Totally.
totally
Which is
do.
really cool. And even just you talking about being efficient, and both of you are very efficient. And so all of these things come together to create like the perfect formula and partnership, which I think is really cool. But I want to go back to you talking about family values, because I think that's really interesting. And I did read somewhere that both of you actually had side businesses when you were younger. You had started little entrepreneurial projects. So tell me about how that played a role. And did you actually know that you both wanted to work for yourselves one day, or was that something that happened throughout the years?
Yeah, so my dad's an entrepreneur, so luckily I grew up having that visibility into what it's like to be your own boss. And like I actually think that was so fortunate because not only did I see all the great things about running your own hours and everything, but I also saw the downside. Like my dad really struggled with boundaries and still does between his work and personal life. So like he would often work into the evenings, even when my sister and I were around, and like that was tough. But I think even though I saw all that, I knew I still wanted to do this. So like when I was a little kid, like I would go with my dad to his business trips. He's in the cookware industry. So I would like see him sell at business trade shows, and like I would help sell extra samples that he had in garage sales. And like that's when I like really early learned that I'm like pretty good at sales. Because like if an 8-year-old can talk about like 3-ply bottom and like copper stainless steel little pots,
Like how you still remember all this.
Yeah, and my dad was like, "How do you even know what a sandwich bottom is?" I'm like, "I don't know, I just heard you say it."
The fact that you remember is amazing.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. Like I love like the sale, and I still very much love that, like closing the deal. And then when I was in high school, I was involved in the Junior Achievements Program.
Yes,
Do you know that?
I was too.
Oh, really?
That's funny.
I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so in grade 9, I remember they came to do a little talk, and they were like, "Oh, if you want to learn about what it's like to start your own business, sign up." So I was like, "Yeah, for sure." So I actually did it for 4 years, and then ended up being like the president of my clubs, and then won like a business case comp that they organized and was able to ring the opening stock market bell at the TSX, which
Wow.
is really cool.
That's
so like,
so fun.
yeah, because I wrote about what it was like to be an entrepreneur and like how I was inspired by my dad. And then when I went to Queen's for Commerce, then I was Frosh rep for the Queen's Entrepreneurs Competition, which is actually North America's oldest undergrad business plan comp. And so in that, you're seeing all these different companies from around the world come and pitch for funding. So I was like getting exposure to other people's ideas. But like Laura mentioned earlier, I just never had an idea that resonated with me enough to be like, I want to do this full time. So did the QEC, that competition for 3 years, co-chaired it, and then ended up working in marketing and sales. And then it was during that time that I started telling my friends and family, like, I have so much free time on my hands. Like, I want to start something.
It's funny because a lot of entrepreneurs that know from a young age that they want to work for themselves, it's not always about the idea. It is actually just about knowing you want to start something.
Being a founder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then with you complementing that, because you actually did have this idea and with your background. So tell me a little bit about how you got to wanting this like entrepreneurial bug that hit you and how that came to be.
Similar to Connie, my dad was also an entrepreneur. And so I saw the ups and downs that came with that. But different from her in that my parents were really trying to dissuade me from ever even thinking about that path. And so it didn't really cross my mind of being an entrepreneur up until I was in university. My parents are very risk adverse. They saw the struggles that my dad went through with his companies, because any company has its ups and downs. And they wanted to protect me from that heartbreak that sometimes comes with being a founder. And so they kind of hammered to me that the definition of success was climbing the corporate ladder. And so my goal going into university was getting like a mid-level management job that makes 6 figures, and like that's the definition of success.
I can't see you in at all.
Yeah, which like now I think I would be very bored in that sort of role, but going into university, yes, that's what I was aiming for. And then during my second year of school, I was actually procrastinating from studying for a midterm. And that was back when Facebook was the main social media platform. There were a lot of BuzzFeed quizzes, if everyone remembers those, what kind of potato you are, like all those ones.
Such important information.
And so there was a College Pro franchise, which is like a franchise student-run painting business. And they were doing recruitment through quizzes of like, would you be a good entrepreneur was the lead generation quiz. And so I was like, I'm just going to take this thing so I don't have to study. Took the quiz and was like, yes, you'd be a good founder. And then I forgot about it. But it puts you onto a list for them to then call people that the quiz identified as being good founders, and they have your information. And so I got pitched on this exterior house painting business. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I don't have any plans for next summer. This sounds really cool. I do kind of want to run a company of my own. Like, let me do it. This sounds really, really interesting. And at that time, I had also gotten an elected student position to run a retail bookstore on campus. And so that was kind of my first semi-foray into it. That I was a manager. I was running the store on campus. It sold like the leather jackets to engineers and textbooks and patches and different merch items. And so I got that experience of hiring staff members and running the books and like onboarding new software and all that sort of stuff. So the College Pro franchise was really my first entry point into entrepreneurship. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. I liked the high risk, high reward. I liked that every day was different and there were constantly unknowns. I made $20,000 in that one summer, like those 4 months, which was way better.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and like take home. So like 120 grand in sales, 20K in profit for me. So I was like,
you
wow,
understood the numbers early on. This is how profitable business runs.
This makes sense. Like this is really exciting. I really enjoy it. But I learned a couple of things from that experience. The first one was I hated painting. I didn't like getting my hands dirty.
Although you're good at painting.
I'm good at painting, but I did not enjoy it.
So yeah, because
I hated being dirty. I didn't like working outside every day because
you
have to work outside when it's not nice too, not just when it's beautiful out. And so I didn't want to be in a service-based industry either. I wanted to create a product I could ship out dozens of times, hundreds of times, thousands of times to customers. And I also didn't like being a solo founder. So I was like, okay, I want to go into a product-based business and I want a co-founder. And so for the next couple of years, I did get that corporate job, realized I did not like it. I worked at one of the large consumer goods companies, a beer brand here in Canada called Labatt that owns like 50% of the beer market. Loved my manager, but didn't like the actual like cogs and gears of running in a big corporation. And so started to think about different ideas of what a business could potentially look like. And so it was really those two experiences of like the retail bookstore on campus I ran, the College Pro franchise, that took me to being like, I want to launch a product-based business. And then discovering my love for natural skincare is what led me to 3 Ships.
This is so incredible that you guys both had those experiences that then brought you to this point. It was like this perfect formula that just
Yeah.
worked and fit like a puzzle piece.
Yeah.
And now here we are, which I love. So tell me about after you met, after you had that founders date. So obviously then you're like, okay, we're doing this. You both left that meeting certain that you were going to then go 50-50 on this. You started to formulate products in Connie's kitchen and we're like testing things. And obviously, you know, it took a while from that point to then you were both working full-time jobs at this
Yeah.
point, correct? So then when was the moment where you were like, okay, we can leave our full-time jobs and we're going to go all in on this?
It was very
Yeah.
structured.
Yeah.
Which like is
Even
very
though
us.
like our plan didn't end up following through all the way, but we did have
we had
plan.
a structure.
So
Yeah.
like first thing, I mean, from the first day that we met, we're like, okay, let's launch our company 3 months from now. Which is like objectively a very short period of time. So we
Yes.
met November 2016 and we were like, let's launch like Valentine's Day 2017. So we ended up launching March 1st, like 2 weeks
Oh,
after
that's
that.
not bad.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we set that launch date because we're like, okay, we're perfectionists.
Yes.
And we knew that if we waited forever, it was never going to launch. So that's the
Mhm.
first thing. And then the second date that we set for ourselves was, okay, we know that like we have our 9 to 5s right now and it could be really hard to quit that cushy like salary
Yeah.
and go full time with the startup. So we agreed once we'd saved up enough money to have 6 months of not paying ourselves a salary. So we looked at all our like living expenses, like, you know, food,
Mhm.
social budget, which was very non-existent, and all those other things. Once we saved up enough for 6 months of that, we would quit our jobs.
Okay.
So that took like a year and a half-ish, I think, from when we first started. And then I remember when we quit, we actually went 12 months without paying ourselves a salary.
Wow.
So we doubled that period of time. So that period of time, we had like lots
That
of like
money
ramen
stretched.
and-
It
stretched
stretched
very
far.
far.
It
That
really
savings.
did.
Yeah,
And it
no,
was
you needed
also
it
during
too.
that time, like I think we moved some of our manufacturing from my kitchen to my parents' basement.
Yeah.
And like my mom helped cook for us once in a while. So like we had a really great
Takes a
support
village.
system.
Yeah, and that's what it takes, I guess, to make
Yeah.
sure that you can do that. But were there moments along the way? I can only imagine that, you know, you're on this journey, you kind of know that you have a certain goal you want to hit and you want to get to, so you're launching. But throughout that year that it took up until when you quit full time, were there moments where you're like, we don't want to do this, we want to give up on this?
Not really. I think there were moments where it was like, why is this so hard? Like, did we really know what we were signing ourselves up for? Is this really the best thing for us to do with our time? But there was never a moment, I don't think, that either of us were like,
No.
this is not what we want to be doing. We don't believe in this.
Mm.
It was more just like the frustration over how hard it is.
Yeah.
Because for the first several years, most founders, it feels like you're pushing this huge rock up a big hill and like
Yeah.
that everything takes effort. And Connie and I actually have matching tattoos
Yeah.
that say
Yeah, I love
3390.
these.
And for us, it's a reference to those early days. Like those first 2 or 3 years, our typical daily sales would be $0 in revenue or $33.90 because we had free shipping over $30.
I remember this.
And $30 plus tax is $33.90 in Ontario. And so that number is just so ingrained into our minds
Yeah.
to represent those early days and to not take anything for granted for where we are now. And so I don't think it occurred to us to quit, but it was more of just like, when is this going to get easier?
I think what's also hard during that period of time is like, you know, Laura and I are both hustlers, and at that time we're starting to see our friends advance up the corporate ladder.
Yeah, you definitely compare yourself.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
Because like,
Yeah.
you know, you think, oh, if I had stayed, where would I be now? And like we were top
Yeah.
performers at our
We
companies.
were.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that was like a little tough, but I never had the thought cross my mind of not wanting to do this. But I agree with Laura. There were many times where I was like, oh, this is so hard. Like,
Yeah, I can relate to that so much because I remember when I left corporate and
Yeah.
like a career that's seemingly very successful, same thing, top performer, always got great performance reviews, and was like asked by my friends at the time, like, why would you leave that? And are you
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah.
And what's your plan B? And I was like, no, I never not want to do this because I want to bet on myself and I believe in it.
Yeah.
But absolutely, when you see other people like getting promotions and you just kind of know where they're at, that's the part where you're like, I'm working so hard. And you almost wonder, like, what's the return?
It was also hard because you mentioned performance reviews, but like as founders, no one is
Yes.
telling you that you're
No
doing
one.
a great job.
Yeah,
I was
and you have
literally
to tell
talking to my
yourself.
husband Chris about that yesterday. That I was just like, I'm just feeling a little like unappreciated right now.
Someone
Because-
give me a pat on the
know.
back.
Because,
Someone
like,
give me a
we
pat
have
on the
this
back.
thing. Thanks,
Yeah.
Connie. We have this thing that we give snaps to team members every single week, which I love, and it's great. And it's very much our job as managers and leaders and our
Yeah.
other managers within the business to give snaps for their team members, but it's nobody's job to give snaps to us.
Yes.
And so Connie and I rarely get snaps for
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Like regardless of the impact that we've had in other people achieving goals that then they take over the finish line, we don't get recognition for that. And so being a founder is a very, very thankless job. And we're
Absolutely.
so lucky to have an amazing board member that does pump our tires and is our
Yeah.
biggest
Nice.
cheerleader and
So
is
rare.
so supportive. It's so rare. And so it's
Yeah.
very lucky that we get that from her. But we see her once a quarter. And so
Yeah.
sometimes during those other moments, I'm like, man,
No, it has to be an interview like
Like-
this where I'm like, you guys are amazing. What
Yeah.
you're doing is amazing. And, you know, I mean, I think that's what it is. It's more from sort of the public validation that you get more so than internally, because now it's at a point where it's like the headlines that are written, or if you're speaking at a conference or you're doing a conversation like this, but really people don't know what's happening like with
Behind
your
the
team
scenes.
day to day
Yeah.
behind
and
the
that
scenes.
recognition is great, or winning awards is
Yes.
great,
Yeah.
but it's
But it's
so
not the same.
non-specific. Like it's not like somebody
Yeah.
being like, you crushed that pitch with this
Yes.
person, and I
Yes.
love that you brought up this point. It was very intelligent.
That manager
poignant.
feedback.
That manager feedback that's
Exactly.
very, very specific. And I think as high performers, like Connie mentioned, we've really missed that
Yeah.
in our lives.
I can
It's
relate to
hard.
that so much.
And like, even though we have great husbands, like, it's not the same.
It's not the
Oh,
same.
thanks
Yeah.
to all three of our husbands.
Yeah.
Too. I know. I constantly look for that sort
The
of
validation.
like, yes,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so used to it from like 10 years of a
Yeah.
corporate career. It was like whenever a manager would be like, you're doing great, and here's a promotion, or here's this. And I'm like waiting for that and looking around. I'm like, oh, nope, yep, just me again.
You're like, when is my raise coming? And then you're like, oh wait, I give that to myself.
Exactly.
If we deserve, like, if the business is at a
Exactly.
point that we can earn it, but like, I don't feel like I've earned it. It's just that there's like extra.
Mhm.
It's different feeling.
Yes.
So I think that takes a bit of time to get comfortable with as a founder and to
Yeah.
not feel too demotivated about.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's been so important for you guys to surround yourself with other founders too, and you do a good job of cultivating that sense of connection with them, because it really is other founders that understand that journey, and then you can kind of celebrate each other.
Yeah.
Even though they're removed from the business, at least they can understand the struggles or the milestones, and you really have that time to celebrate with other people that have
Yeah.
done it themselves.
Yeah, we've done
So.
a good job with community.
And so you mentioned that you didn't necessarily feel like giving up in that beginning period, but what about after that? Like, when was the moment where you were like, this is something we are so committed to? You went full in on it and you were working on it full time, but were there moments even after that? Like, obviously the numbers show that you were growing and it was turning into this successful business, but was there ever a point even after that moment where you were like, I don't know if we can keep going? Because there's companies that have hit like 10 million in revenue, but then they're like, no, we can't do this anymore. We're going to shut it down.
Gosh,
So
so many moments.
How long do we have?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
tell me whatever you want.
Yeah.
2021 for us was a really
Yeah.
hard year.
Mm.
Very, very difficult. We had raised our round and launched Three Ships in its current form because it was under a different brand name before that.
Yes.
And so the rebrand launched in July of 2020. We were on Dragon's Den 3 months later, had landed Target. Like, things were looking up so much. We'd raised our first round, and then 2021 hit, and we made so many bad decisions with that first round of funding. Made a couple bad hires, and it's really hard to maintain a solid culture, and you have to protect it so vigorously. And I think
Yeah.
that's when we really learned that lesson, that once you start to see signs that somebody's not the right
Yeah.
fit for the team, not the
Yeah.
right fit for the role,
Mhm.
like, move them out of the business as soon as possible. And so we made some mistakes there, made some bad investments in terms of like marketing campaigns that didn't really pan out, had a bunch of challenges within our supply chain, that things were still so chaotic after COVID. We didn't know how to properly demand plan at that point. We're still figuring out the wheels of forecasting. There was this huge mudslide as well that happened, I think, towards the end of that year. Maybe it was the start of the following year. But 2021 was really bad. I think that year we had like a negative 25% EBITDA.
It's
Like,
also
to
like right after COVID too.
Right after COVID,
Yeah.
it was very, very, very difficult. I think there were a lot of sleepless nights for Connie
We
and
pulled
I.
out of Target.
At that point, we pulled out of Target after just 6 months of being in store. It was really hard. Like, it did feel like things were kind of spiraling.
Also, you
Yeah.
were recovering from your brain.
Yeah,
surgery.
still like very early out of my surgery, like only a year and a bit out. So it did feel like things were heading very much in the wrong direction. But I think in those moments, you have to like be like, no, we're doing something important. Reading our customer reviews gave us so much perspective on what we were creating and the impact that we had for our customers, which was huge. But I remember even our fractional CFO that we had at the time, he called me like out of the blue one day and he was like, Laura, like, are you sure this is what you want to be doing? Like, I could find you a job tomorrow
Wow.
making like mid-high six figures, and you wouldn't be having to work so hard, and you wouldn't be so stressed. Like, are you really sure this is what you want to do? And I'm like, yes, it is. But if your CFO is asking you those questions,
You,
like,
you question yourself.
it gives you
Yeah,
pause.
you start
It
to
totally
question yourself
does.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because someone else might be seeing something in you that you're not.
Exactly. Or
and
seeing
they're-
something in the business. So it's
Totally.
like, is this not going to work? Like, is this not possible? Even though
Yeah.
we were identifying all these errors, and thankfully, like, I think we've avoided from making the same mistake twice in these situations. And sometimes you just have to learn those lessons. But man, was it painful.
Yeah, and you come back to your why in that moment. Like, it has to be deep enough for you to know that, no, I do want to keep going. And that usually comes back to a strong reason. So like you're saying, you're passionate about it, or you really want to change something in an industry with which you guys have wanted to do. And you're actually like changing the norm in terms of the products. And so I think it really comes down to, like, you have to believe in what you're doing, because otherwise there's so many moments where you're like, why would I do this? Why would I keep doing it?
Yeah.
I want to go back to, you mentioned changing the brand name. So obviously I knew you guys back when it was New Body, we had done it at the very beginning. You guys popped up at one of my events, which was really fun. And I know that changing the name for you was a big decision. It felt really big at the time because you were already a few years. Hi, Ella. She's very into this.
She's very into this. Come here.
It had been a really big decision for you guys because you already felt like you had brand recognition. And I think what's really interesting about that is I saw the sort of real growth that came after you did it. And it's so scary to do it, but then I think it actually worked in like such a benefit to you. So tell me just a little bit about how that felt.
Bring her down. Ella, you just want to be involved in everything, huh?
Center of attention.
So when Laura and I started the original brand from my kitchen, it was called New Body, and the rationale behind it was our first product line was coconut oil based, and I think new in Hawaiian meant coconut. We didn't have a marketing budget. We started the brand with $4,000, so that was the name. And then really quickly we realized, like, okay, it was a confusing name. People thought NIU was an acronym. They thought it was a body care company because the word body was in it. At one point when we first started, when you searched New Body on Google, unfortunately there was a body discovered on Northern Illinois University campus.
Stop. Oh,
and
God.
so if you search New Body, you would see articles about this body that was found. So obviously terrible SEO at the start. And like more importantly, along the way, when we started actually acquiring more customers and like learning more about our true customers, we realized that initial brand with New Body was not aligned with our core consumer. It was very Gen Z. It was very pink.
Yes.
It was very like, get your glow on, babe. Like,
Yeah,
it was like
very
so
cheeky,
cringe.
yeah.
I know. I'm like, now does that make
so
you cringe
cheeky.
to say?
I will never go back in our Instagram grid and look at the
Oh my
original
gosh, I
posts.
love looking at our old pitch decks, and we were
Oh
so
my
proud of them, and they're just
gosh.
so pink. But they got the job done.
Yes,
did.
they did.
Yeah, and so we were like, okay, we need to rebrand to just like up level the brand a little, focus more on transparency, which we realized was something that our customers really cared about, and a slightly more mature audience, like women more 30 to 55-ish versus like Gen Z. And so we were like, okay, we already know that we also can't get the trademark on the New Body name because there was another brand named New Face that was starting to get more from skin tools into skincare.
And they sent us a cease and desist letter.
Yeah.
And so after they did that, we're like, okay,
Yeah, it's
we
hard.
definitely got to change.
Honestly, that's when you know you've made it.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
lawyers get involved,
Yeah.
that's when you know. It's
So
like,
you know that you've impact. Yeah.
little old you
Yeah.
getting a cease and desist.
Yeah. So then we're like, okay, all signs are pointing to changing the name. So we worked with a brand agency, and we decided to change the name to 3 ships. The 3 ships being our 3 pillars of the brand, which are uncensorship, leadership, and partnership. And as soon as the brand came together, it just felt right. And I think, like, at least speaking from the like buyer pitching sales side, it was a lot harder pitching New Body in the past, but when we rebranded to 3 ships, it seemed to click with buyers. And like, that was the point where our retail partnerships really started to work.
Oh, I love that. I love that you trusted yourselves enough to know.
It was
really
scary.
Yeah,
scary.
that's
It was
really,
really
scary,
scary,
because
yeah.
it's for any brand doing something that big, you almost feel like you lose the history of it and that you're starting from scratch.
And you worry, like, the small number of people that we have following us right now that believe in us, are they going to follow?
Yeah.
Like, you can very easily lose them.
Yeah. But then that new brand really encompasses everything that you're about in terms of the name, but then even just the changing colors and the personality of it really grew with you.
It was much more intentional. Just like, think about the amount of time that we gave ourselves to launch a first brand, like start to finish 3 months. Like, how intentional can your decisions really be if that's how much time you have to get a business off the ground, make all the branding decisions, get products, like
Yes.
everything.
Well, that's what's so great about this, because I think that you guys you did it, and most founders will say this, that you have to start somewhere. You start with something,
Yeah.
you can iterate
You have
iterate
to.
after, you can change
Yeah.
products, you can
Done is
change.
better than perfect.
Exactly. And then you just look how much you've evolved. I mean, websites, like how many iterations do you go through of packaging, websites,
Yeah.
all the things, until you get to a place
All
where,
the
and you
time. And then
continue to
you're
grow.
always still iterating.
Exactly.
Like brands that are staying still and not reinventing themselves
Yeah.
or refining are the brands that end up feeling irrelevant after a
true.
couple of years.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
it's constant evolution, which I think is also something that we're having to get more accepting of as founders too, is knowing that like it's never going to feel perfect. Our
Yeah.
job is never going to feel done. Our to-do
Mm.
list is never going to be finished either. Like
Unfortunate.
we keep thinking like, okay, once we get past this next hurdle, things will
Yeah.
start to feel like, oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
all just clicking into place.
It's a moving target, and it constantly is like that, because I was actually talking to some other founders about this, and the fact that you never fully feel as if you've made it. You will
Never.
hit
Even
milestones.
people have sold their companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it's
Yeah.
the next thing. Then
Yeah.
what am I going to do with these funds? I'm going to
Yeah.
start something different. Who am I? I need to like reinvent myself
Yeah.
now.
Am I outside the company?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do think that's so interesting, because if you did feel like you made it, then what would be the momentum to keep going?
True. Yeah.
So I think that's why it really feels like that.
It's like
So
the good with
there's
the bad.
always, exactly. Got it.
Yeah.
It comes with the good and bad. I want to get a little bit more personal and obviously talk about some of the challenges that you've each faced throughout this journey, because building a business is one thing, but doing it alongside taking care of your mental and physical well-being is another thing. And already building a business like this takes a toll on you. But Laura, you encountered a pretty scary health incident that happened when you were 26 years old.
Yeah.
You got diagnosed with a brain tumor.
Yeah.
I know the story, but I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that, and how that not just impacted the business, but just you as a person, and how that might have shifted your perspective on things.
I mean, it obviously completely changed everything in my life. Like, it was not on my bingo card to get diagnosed with cancer at 26 years old. That's not something that I thought I would ever have to experience. I think cancer in general, especially when you're young, when you get diagnosed, feels like something out of a movie, something that just happens to other people, but not you. And back in November of 2019, when I was diagnosed, it was just Connie and I working on the business. We had just kicked off the process of starting to go through the rebrand. And so all of a sudden, everything felt like it was in flux. The business was completely changing. My health was also completely changing as well. And I was dealt this like huge blow. And so Connie and I were having to have these really serious conversations, like all of a sudden, that you have to start to be prepared for, okay, I have to go through surgery is the next step. So I had to have a 10-hour long brain surgery to remove as much of the tumor as possible. And we had to have those conversations of what happens if I don't wake up from the surgery, or what happens if I wake up but I'm paralyzed, or I can't speak, or like, because your doctors take you through all of those risks. And even when I woke up from my surgery, which went very well, all things considered,
Thank goodness.
thank goodness, yeah, I still had to relearn how to walk. I couldn't read the hands on a clock. I had a really hard time reading like columns of text in a magazine. And around that time as well, my surgery was at the start of March 2020. And we all know what happened in March of 2020. And so I was discharged from hospital literally 2 days before Toronto, where we live, was completely locked down for COVID.
Wow.
And so it was a very, very destabilizing, strange time. I was in a relationship at the time as well that was not healthy or serving me. And there were like fidelity issues, infidelity issues. Yeah, Connie does not like him.
Oh my gosh.
And so, but I was like in such a vulnerable state because of all these issues I was going through at the health front, that like, you just feel like, what value do you have to the world? Like, that's truly what went through my head, is like, who would ever want to marry me when I have this? Who would ever want to like go through the pain even of having me as a friend? Because what if I get really sick? Like, that's a hard thing to watch someone go through. And so you start to think really almost cynically, I would say, about the relationships, or you feel like you're causing pain to the people that you love because you see them going through pain with what you're going through. But you're having to be so strong for them and for your own sake, and try to be really positive, even though you have no idea what's around the next corner either. And so luckily I made it through my surgery. I recovered, was able to regain walking and talking and reading and all those sorts of skills. And then gradually started to get back into the business, which again, it was just Connie and I as full-time employees in the company.
Oh my gosh.
And then things really started to pick up with the business once we launched the rebrand, got rid of that past relationship, met my now husband, who's amazing.
We love him.
We love him. Yeah, we love him.
As soon as you started talking about him, I'm like, oh, he's the one.
Yeah. And I really credit a lot of this perseverance that I had during that period of time, especially when you're so emotionally raw with a fresh health diagnosis of any kind.
Yeah.
Those first 6 months were very, very challenging. Um, and so much of my recovery and I think my fortitude and my strength came from my therapist that I was seeing during that time, who specialized in young adults with cancers. And so they understood that, like, there's nothing that I did to cause this. It's complete fluke. It's an unlucky thing. There's these unique challenges that young patients that have cancer go through, because you start to question about, again, relationships. You start to have fears about family planning and what does that mean down the road.
Of course.
You have fears about career. Like, what happens if you take a step back from your career? You kind of permanently with this like brand or this X on your record and on your resume. And so talking through that with her was so, so helpful for me at that time. And also, of course, having such a supportive friend in Connie and co-founder, like, never felt rushed back to the business. I knew that I could take as much time as I needed to recover. I think I was only off for 4 weeks, and then I was gradually getting back into things as much as I could manage. But yeah, it was a very weird time that almost feels like it didn't happen in some ways.
I think the timing with COVID made it really
really
weird.
weird.
Yeah, because
Like
you're
the
in a
whole
different
world shut down as she was recovering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Which
Which
kind of
is
is
a blessing in a way.
It is a blessing
Because you didn't need to then be out.
I didn't like miss anything.
Yeah, exactly. And you needed that time and a sort of permission to be able to just do that. Exactly.
Yes.
Permission to pause. But yeah, that story, it makes me emotional because I know I've known you for so long, but it's just like so beautiful how you took that and then you literally have turned it into this like deeper purpose as to like how you approach things now. And I think when things happen at such a young age like that, it shifts everything. And then a lot of people then, when you're diagnosed with something at such a young age, you can take that and it becomes this power and this like quiet power that you carry throughout your life, and everything is looked at from a different lens. You just have a deeper meaning of life, a deeper understanding of life, 100%. A different perspective. And I think that's so beautiful because I think your life will go the way it will because you went through that.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, I totally agree with you about that like I'll make different decisions in my life because of what I went through.
Exactly.
And I think those different decisions will lead to a more meaningful, purposeful life for me.
Exactly.
And it gives me so much more meaning in what we're building as well, that I'm so passionate about what we're doing at Three Ships. And I believe in it so deeply that it's just like, okay, if I were to die in 2 weeks, like, I wouldn't have felt like I had any regrets or that I left anything on the table or that I didn't get to do something that I loved. And it also gives me a deep sense of understanding for what many of our customers are going through, because we make natural skincare products. There's lots of reasons that people will choose to use natural, whether for like lifestyle choices, maybe they have allergies to synthetics. One of the really common reasons is health diagnoses, that they get diagnosed with cancer or with some sort of autoimmune disorder, and they really want to understand all the food that they're eating, the beauty products that they're using every single day. And to give that sense of control and autonomy like back into their hands during those very difficult moments is very empowering and very core, I think, to who we are now. And I don't think that we would have that strong sense of conviction around that if it weren't for us having gone through like my cancer diagnosis.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just become a brand that people trust then, because now it's even more personal to you. It's like you believe in the products and you were making these before, but now you've gone through something yourself, so you value it even more. And so it's just nice for people to know that there really is so much of a personal part of you going into building this company out. And I think it's so beautiful, obviously, your partnership with each other in terms of co-founders and the support that you give one another throughout a journey like this. I think what's interesting is at the beginning when you guys started this, you kind of knew you wanted co-founders, and then life throws you these personal things too. And it's times like that where you get to lean on each other, which is really special as well. And Connie, I know you've talked a little bit about over the past few years, like having moments where you've had anxiety and faced things. So tell me a bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a very anxious person. I think after years of experience in therapy, so I've been going to therapy since 2015. So I guess that's 10 years now that I've been in therapy. Really learning that a lot of it honestly came down to my childhood, unfortunately.
Don't
as
we
with
all
like
learn
many of us, all the traumas that our family passes down.
To childhood.
And like, I mean, sorry, mom and dad, if you're gonna watch this later.
We still love you.
But like having immigrant parents who like grew up with nothing. They just wanted to make sure that I would be okay in life. But I think, unfortunately, that also results in them making me an indecisive person and making me really anxious about the decisions I'd make because I just didn't want me to make the wrong decision. So like an example I like to give is when I was learning to drive, my parents were like literal backseat drivers, like not even just like figuratively, like literal. They were sat in the back, and I remember I was leaving a parking lot one day near my parents' house, just like at a mall. And I'm like exiting the parking lot, and my parents are like, woo, like shouting from the back. And I legit thought I was going to hit someone. I was like, oh my God, like I slammed the brakes. I was like, I don't see anything. And they're like, no, like if you go out this exit, then you have to cross 2 lanes of traffic. But if you go out that exit, there's only 1 lane of traffic. So it's a lot easier. And I was like, holy crap. Like I literally like had a panic attack. But I told them, I'm like, if you had just let me go, I would have learned. And also crossing 2 lanes,
it's not that big a deal.
It's like a metaphor of life.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Or like another time, I was making oatmeal at my parents' house, and I was like, Mom, do you want some? And she's like, no, I'm good. I don't need breakfast. I'm like, okay, so I'm like, make it for myself. And she comes by and just like watches me make it, and she's like, oh, you're doing it wrong. And I was like, well, wait, what do you mean? This is a recipe I followed. And she's like, no, it's wrong. And I'm like, okay, why does it even matter to you? Like, this is what I'm eating. I'm good with it. But like, these are just 2 small examples of how my parents were very loving, would try to like correct the things that I would do. And I think over the years, especially as I grew up and like became a teenager and then eventually graduated, like all these like little decisions that I have to make in life would make me really anxious because I'm like, is this the best decision?
You're questioning yourself then.
And like when you don't have your parents there to tell you if it's the right decision.
Or a manager at a job.
Totally.
Yeah.
And when I can clearly see like both sides of any decision, like I'm pretty good at seeing 2 sides of any argument. That means it's a pro because like, yes, you can really understand like all the sides before you make a decision. But the con is like, it kind of paralyzes you sometimes when you have to make a decision.
Yes.
And then when you're in startup, which is such an unknown area, anyways, all this to say, I learned that like anxiety was something that I really had to deal with, especially as we started to grow our team and then having to be a manager and a leader that the team looks up to. And when you're leaders of a company that's going through uncharted territory, like it's our first time building a company that's going to do like maybe up to 20 million this year. Like that's something totally new.
You're guiding the ship.
Literally.
Literally.
The ship. And so I had to learn how to manage this anxiety. So one, therapy was so helpful. So I still go every 2 weeks, sometimes more frequently, sometimes like every month, but at least usually around every 2 weeks, which has been so beneficial. And especially staying with the same therapist for a while because they see patterns and how you think, and they'll call you out on your BS. Or they'll be like, oh, I remember you said this in the past. Like, let's try to work on that. Having a really supportive partner obviously helps, and business partner too, huge. And also like something really big I learned from therapy was understanding like, is this true or is this just a story that you're telling yourself, like CBT?
Yep.
And like doing the work, as they say in therapy, which is so annoying that you have to do it. But like really recognizing like, is it a story? Is it truth? And sometimes when you're having an anxious thought, it can feel like the truth. Like even when you're writing down like, you know, I'll write a line down a piece of paper and be like, truth or story or not. And like, you see all the reasons why it's not true,
but your mind still believes it. Yeah.
And you have to like undo that wiring. Another thing that's helped a lot with anxiety is recognizing the small wins. So we talked about this a lot earlier, but like you don't have a manager to tell you when you're doing a good job, but at least like for me, you know, we have our board member, we have each other. I have my buyers who like will send me emails about how we're doing really well. I actually screenshot as many examples as I can and I save them in a Google Drive folder.
I love that.
And it's just called my personal wins, exclamation mark smiley. And like I just have all these screenshots from like when we first started building New Body and now 3 ships. And each file is just dated and like it's named with like date and like a description of what I was proud of.
Of course, it's organized.
I know, right?
Pile of wins.
Piles of wins.
Like chronological order.
It's all color coded.
Yeah, should do that.
It's in a scrapbook.
We should color coding great, like blue personal, green business.
Oh my gosh, we know what Connie's doing this weekend.
Exactly.
And so like it's so great because it serves 2 purposes. One is I'm starting to notice in real time when I'm doing something great or when something should be shouted out.
Yeah.
And then like screenshotting or like documenting it.
Yep.
And the second thing is when things are really hard, or when you're just like having a really tough day, I know I have that folder and I'll go through and look at those screenshots. And it's really heartwarming too, because I can see what I thought was such a big win back in 2018, let's just say. And like now, if that
It's
happens,
like so much bigger.
you know, it's like, okay, but it was such a big win back then. So it really shows you how far we've come. But yeah, mental health is like something I don't think enough people really work on and talk about, especially as founders.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
Yeah, there's just so much going on.
It comes hand in hand. And I think exactly it's the conversations like this that matter, that make people feel like they're not alone, to know that, oh, those thoughts that I have, why do I keep having that thought? Or this doesn't feel so good. Or, oh my gosh, it's actually crippling and I can't move forward. Even you talking about the decision making, I think that's such a big one, because if you've grown up a certain way, you doubt yourself. And the power of making decisions is so important as a founder. So I know that's something I've struggled with too. And even the wins, I keep a weekly wins list. I have it just like written at the top of my notebook, and every week it's like weekly wins. And anytime something happens, I just have this like running log of weekly wins. And it's just a way to recognize. It's exactly what you said. Like things can go by, but you're like, I have to recognize and be like grateful for these moments. Otherwise, what's the point of all of it? Exactly. I wanted to go back to when you guys mentioned the word hustle, because I know for you, this idea of hustling, I mean, you two are so hardworking. I definitely believe that you hustle. You've always hustled, because it's just taken a lot to build the business to the scale that you have. And I know there's like mixed opinions on this, because there are people out there that say, oh, you don't need to hustle. You can like kind of chill. And if it's aligned, like the money will come and the business will be built. I don't have as many examples of that. So what's interesting to me is I know you kind of go by that theory that like you have to work hard. So tell me your thoughts on the word hustle, and is that ingrained in the way that you go about doing things in both work and life and all the things?
It's one of our company values actually that we hire and fire by. So our values are hustle, curiosity, compassion, and integrity. And so it's something that we look for in everybody that joins the team. So I think it's essential. Like it's a non-negotiable. If you want to be a founder, things aren't just going to manifest themselves into your life. Luck is definitely a component, but I think that you have to be good to get lucky.
You have to make those opportunities to be lucky.
Exactly.
To find them.
Like to be able to capture that luck when it does happen and make the most of those moments, you have to work really, really hard to set up those situations so that they can fall into your lap. And so I think hard work and grit and perseverance is everything. And I'm convinced that a lot of founders fail within their businesses because they give up too early. And they kind of throw in the towel. They have expectations that it's going to be only a year before they see traction. And I think it typically takes 5 years from everything that we've seen. And you can see this pattern even in other industries. Like if you look at many musicians, usually it's them giving like 5 years of dedicated time to their craft and to like sending out like tapes and to trying to get agents. It's 5 years before they take off. And yes, there's those rare overnight successes, but we try to ignore those situations. And especially in beauty, as you know, it's such a competitive space. And we hear this all the time of like, how can you possibly break through? Like, why would you go into this industry? It's so competitive. Even when we first started, I think our parents, at least my parents, were very like, can't you pick something else kind of idea. Like, but I think it's all about perseverance, pushing through, creating like genuine connections with people, like whether that's buyers, investors, your customers, team members, and then just building on that one step at a time and doing what other people aren't willing to do. Like Connie and I work very late into the evenings oftentimes, or we'll do these live shows. We'll go and travel and go to different conferences, even if maybe it's not like an A-tier conference, you go there because you just never know.
I know you guys are like my example of, I see it. And I do think that there, for a while during the pandemic, especially, there was this idea of just like, you can manifest your way into a business. And you can't sit in your house and expect that things are going to happen.
I have some like more thoughts on this too. Like what Laura was saying is like a lot of people give up too early, and there's this term called the trough of sorrow, which is like in startup land, a lot of founders will, work 2 years, then it'll get really tough, or the business will plateau, and then they'll quit there. And that's like the trough of sorrow. But if you just keep pushing, then all of a sudden you're going to hit your traction point. This too. And like a lot of startups go through that, but many founders quit here just because like they don't have a strong why, or they're just not willing to push through. And for Laura and me, the definition of hustle with our values too is not even only working hard, which is a big component of it, but also taking full ownership in everything that you do, and also working beyond just your job description. So like, you know, as founders, we're not above rolling up our sleeves and packing orders if the warehouse needs it. And like, I think that's really setting tone at the top for the team. And we attract the types of team members that want that and are willing to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I really think that goes a long way.
Yep.
So that was my first thought around hustle. And I honestly, I lost the second one as I was talking.
We'll go with the first.
But yeah, it's so important.
Yeah. And that comes from top down. Exactly.
I remember.
Yeah.
So you're talking about manifesting and like how people say you can manifest wealth and all these things. And I think you can manifest or visualize things that you want, but through something that I learned from like a previous life coach called the reticular activating system.
Oh, yes.
Have you heard about this?
I have heard about
you have
this.
too.
I think so.
The RAS. And like, this is where I believe in it, but it's like, you are reminding yourself of what you want to see in your future. So let's just say like you want to do $1 million in sales, and like you're like constantly seeing that. Maybe you have like cue cards, you have your vision board, and like the scientific way of explaining how this works is it impacts your reticular activating system, which is like the way that your mind sees the world. And you'll start to notice things that will get you closer to there, but you need the hustle to actually do the things to get there. So like the example that my coach gave me before is maybe someone tells you they just got a red Jeep, and then all of a sudden when you're driving, you start seeing them. But it's not like there's more red Jeeps all of a sudden. It's just that you're like looking for them. So same thing with work. Like Laura and I have big goals for 3 Ships in different areas and buckets of the business. Like maybe there's a certain celebrity we want to partner with. Like if we hear of someone who knows that celeb, like we're going to go down that path. And to the outside world, they might think that's luck when we eventually get that partnership, but it's because we've been like manifesting this, so to speak, but then you do the work, which is the second part of manifesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's so interesting because that's a key part of it. You actually have to do the work.
Yeah, not just think about it.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you guys what a dream collaboration would be for you. So it's funny you brought up the celebrity thing, but do you have a dream brand or celebrity or influencer or anybody that you would want to collaborate with?
Oh, great question. There's so many. I think for brands, I would love to do something in the fragrance space at some point. So either Salt and Stone or Seven Virtues.
Oh, I love Salt and Stone.
Are both two brands that like we really admire.
Yeah.
And then from a celebrity standpoint, we are just at Shine Away. And so maybe this is why my mind is going here. So Shine Away is Reese Witherspoon's event in LA, and as part of her whole empire that she's built. And I think she would be a great ambassador. Like I've always really admired her positivity. She's very like pro female founders, which tends to be the community that we relate well to and our like customers relate well to.
Yep.
And I think she's just such a positive, sunny person. And
I just listened to her episode on the Emma Grede. Her obsession with Emma Grede and all things. Yeah, her podcast, and Reese Witherspoon was on it. And such a great conversation.
Yeah.
You guys have talked about your partners a little bit throughout the conversation, the lovely husbands who are behind the scenes supporting and being awesome partners as you guys build this business. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about that and what they do for you to show up and make you feel supported.
Oh, that's such a cute question.
Did they pay you to say that?
I know, secretly. It's my husband probably talked to your husband. And now like, let's get this conversation
Sam,
going.
Jason, and Chris all have a group chat going.
Make sure we get mentioned in there.
I think recognizing that marriage is a teamwork and that there's going to be periods of time where I'm not able to show up as 100%, and that that's not the expectation, and that no one's keeping tally or keeping score. And so my husband is really amazing at recognizing how I'm feeling and meeting me where I'm at, and not being like, but you said XYZ was going to happen this weekend, or we committed to blah, blah, blah. Like, if I don't have the energy for something, or I went through something really challenging that week within the company, or I'm just feeling really drained, he's flexible. Like plans change, or he steps up to help me when I'm not feeling at my best. He's been so supportive of my health journey, which is honestly probably a bigger role that he's played in my life than the founder stuff, because truly running the business feels a lot easier in terms of the hurdles that you face, you have control over, versus when it's healthcare things, a lot of it's out of your control.
Yeah.
And so finding somebody who's so supportive of bringing somebody with cancer into their life when I already had it when we met, and like the prognosis isn't nothing, like it's not phenomenal. Like I was given a life expectancy when I was diagnosed of 14 years, and it's been 7.
Wow.
So that's a really hard thing to put on somebody, but he just like is like, well, like I'll be there for you through it all. And anytime I have those moments that I'm like, I'm sorry that you're having to go through all this, he's like, Laura, don't apologize. Like I'm here through it all with you.
That's really sweet.
So I think that that's probably one of the biggest things, is just knowing that I have somebody to come home to that's going to be in my corner no matter what, that I can bounce ideas off of, that will be very compassionate, supportive, that will like pick up the things that I can't pick up when I don't have the ability to, and does it without complaint or comparison or keeping tally.
Oh,
I think that's
great.
all that you really can ask for in a partner.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, Chris is the best.
Yeah. So is Jason.
Yeah, and Jason.
We're very
Approved
lucky.
of Chris from the first moment I about him.
The Connie seal of approval.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a big
hard to
deal.
get.
If Connie had said
True.
no,
Yeah,
we
sorry,
wouldn't
Chris.
be married,
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris is great. I resonate a lot with everything that she said. Just like having someone that views you as a true partner in life and never feels like there's a score.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know, like how Brene Brown says, like, oh, actually, maybe this is new to you, but she said once that when she comes home, she could say, like, on a scale of 1 to 10 how she feels, and then her partner will like kind of balance it out. So for example, when I come home and if I'm feeling like 9 out of 10, like I'm like ready to roll, like maybe I'll make dinner and I'll like take care of Ella and like bring her on the walk and all the things. But sometimes like I'll be a 2 out of 10 and then Jason will just like just manage everything.
Oh, that's
And
so
it's not
great.
even like you have to like ask, they just know, and like you just communicate. Or if we're both a 3 out of 10, then it's like take out that. But like having someone that's willing to work with you and never makes you feel bad about it. I think Jason, similar to Chris, is also like my biggest cheerleader, which you really need when like, especially when work is tough. I actually remember that even before we quit our jobs to go full time with 3 ships, I was texting him being like, okay, like, I think this is the day I'm going to give my notice in at my company. And like, I have a screenshot where he sent me a meme and it was like Leonardo DiCaprio from Great Gatsby, like cheersing and being like, I'm so excited to celebrate you tonight. Like, this is like the start of this really exciting chapter. And like, he was the one that believed, other than Laura, of course, in the business from day one, like even before 3 Ships was anything, which is tough because like you're dating someone that is like quitting their full-time job to do something that's like totally new.
Risky.
Not paying themselves a salary.
Right.
And I guess speaking on that note, like transparently in the beginning days, like when we weren't paying ourselves a salary, Jason was really, really great about like managing some of the expense that we had. He never made me feel bad when we would go on dates and like I couldn't manage as much as he could. He would always just joke and be like, do you think I'm going to feel bad one day when like you sell your company? Absolutely not. And he still jokes that way sometimes. But like, yeah, I think overall, our partners are just so supportive of us. And just are there through like the ups and the downs, and that's all you can really ask for.
It's
just
true.
Someone who's like stable, and like if you're having a good day, they celebrate. If you're having a bad day, they're there for you.
That's so special.
And like, you know, equally we're there for them.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. It's having the faith in you guys.
Yeah.
It is. And also not being intimidated by
Oh,
success.
yes.
It's such a
Yes.
specific thing when it comes to female founders with husbands or partners that maybe have more of a regular career. Oftentimes you see partners that can kind of belittle their like wife or girlfriend or whoever. And I think it's because they're intimidated by it.
Yeah.
Because if you then start to become the primary breadwinner, feels a little like they're lacking purpose or untraditional. And so I think finding somebody who like is truly so supportive, does not view it as a competition, doesn't get intimidated by the success, will go to the award shows and not be like, I wish that I could get an award of some kind. And we'll just be there to be so excited for
that
you.
means they need to be confident in themselves.
They do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, or have a sense of purpose for themselves, because then it's like you can grow alongside each other.
Yeah,
And
they
if
need to
they're
have their own thing going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they're ambitious in their own right, then it's like everyone's kind of staying in their own lane of being excited, but then you can come together and support one another and do exactly what you said with the balancing out. I think that's such a important point, because you guys both kind of mentioned this, that it's picking up the slack when you kind of need it without having to explain it and justify it. It's like you don't have to be apologetic for having a day that was so busy at work so you can't come home and cook dinner, and it's like, we're getting takeout, sorry. And to have a partner that just allows you to be you, I think allows you to then grow even more in your business and even personally. So
100%. And I would very much recommend to pick a man who knows how to cook and is not like, that's not my job. Like that to me is one of the biggest red flags is like a guy that just will not cook for himself. I'm like, I don't like cooking. I don't want to cook for you and me constantly for my entire life until I die and have you do nothing. Like, that's not fair.
Too bad
And I
for
also
Jason.
don't like eating takeout all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, someone's got to learn to
Yeah.
be in the kitchen.
Yeah.
my mom always had two pieces of advice for me and my two sisters. She was like, never marry a firstborn and never, and like find a man.
Oh.
Yeah, Chris is a firstborn too.
Oh, no.
So,
Yeah, true.
and find a man who enjoys and like knows how to cook. And those were her two pieces of
That's
advice.
so
Those were her
funny.
only
Nice.
two rules. So
Wait, you know
listen-
what's so funny? One of my mom's pieces of advice was don't marry someone who takes longer to get ready than you do.
Does
that's
Jason take
also a good
longer?
rule.
Does Jason
Right?
take
Jason
longer?
No,
to
he-
get ready?
Okay.
I wish he took longer, actually. I'm always like
You're like,
on
"This
him
is
about what he
unfair."
wears. I'm like,
Yeah.
babe, you need better shoes. Like, god damn. Like, all he
Someone's
wears
got
are
shoes
his
for
company
Christmas.
t-shirts. He has like so many of the like swag from his company. Anyways, that's besides the point. But he takes like very, very little time to get ready.
Yeah,
But it's kind of true, right? You don't want someone that's like obsessed with themselves.
No.
true. It's true.
No.
I feel like, Laura, you said because you listen to your parents' advice only on certain things.
Only on
'Cause it's
certain
like,
things.
The
I pick and
cooking,
choose.
yes,
Yeah.
not the corporate job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not the firstborn.
Not the firstborn.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
worked out for you. So
It's worked
fine.
out. It's worked out.
I
Yeah.
love it. And you guys have both talked about wanting to start families and to be moms. So that's on the sort of vision planning for the future. But how do you feel about it when you really think about it and reflect and think about how your life might change in the coming years? Does it scare you guys?
Oh yeah.
Terrifies us. Like, I literally called Connie 2 weeks ago about this. That because like I'm starting to think about those next steps, and especially with my health journey, I'm on a clinical trial drug for the tumor that's left, which has kept it stable for all these years, which is amazing. And so it's working really well for me, this chemo alternative. But because of that, I can't carry. And so Chris and I have decided to go through a surrogate because it's the only way that we'd be able to have our own biological children.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to be having to start that IVF process really soon, which is terrifying. Like, so it kind of feels like this weird thing that like you spend so much of your life, like, don't get pregnant, like, please don't get pregnant, and
You
trying to
flip
avoid it.
it.
And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're ready. Please let me get pregnant. Like,
yeah.
And then it's like the most extreme opposite.
the most
Yeah.
extreme
feelings.
opposite. So I think that we both have fears about that process
Mm.
and like getting pregnant because we're both in our like early 30s. So we're not old by any means, but we're also not like 24.
Yeah. We're no spring chickens.
Yeah, and you just hear stories about people that have greater challenges, and
Yeah.
as you get older you get more exposed to those things, so I think it also becomes more front of mind.
Mm.
And then also with the change in life after that, like, you have this little human that's so dependent on you for everything. And
Forever.
yeah,
Yeah.
forever. And how is that going to be? Like, I hope that they're healthy. I hope that they don't have any major issues when they're first born. I hope that like you're able to continue to give them a really positive life and that we can be around here for a very long time for them. Like, so there's all these big unknowns that are really scary, that you just feel like you're opening up all these big, big buckets. You don't know what's behind those doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of what she said, +1 to them. But also, like, even when I was a kid, I didn't even know if I wanted kids when I was older. And it wasn't until I met Jason that I was like, oh, actually, I can see myself having kids with this person. So it took me a while to even like warm up to the idea of being a mom. And then since we got married 3 years ago, when we first got married, we were like, okay, eventually it's going to happen. And then every year we'd be like, next year. That's a next year problem. And then even at the start of this year, we're like, next year. And it's been 3 years. And I'm sure both sets of parents are like, okay, anytime now, especially since Jason's like the oldest in like his group of cousins. But I think like what's scary is like the rite of passage, like the change in lifestyle where like we're going from dual income, no kids life. And like we love our life right now. Like I love to be able to say like, you know, let's just say this interview wraps and I want to go to Pilates class, I can just go.
You can do it.
I don't need to
yeah.
ask anyone. I have a car. I can just go. I don't need to like watch anyone at home because Ella can manage herself and like I'm good. Or like sometimes on the weekend, Jason and I will wake up late and we'll see our neighbor and they have 2 kids and we'll see them like packing their car to go to soccer and we're like, ha, like we're so glad we don't have to do that. And like just knowing that that's going to, if we're lucky, be us one day is really terrifying. I think the other part that really scares me personally is how I'm going to be as like a leader at work.
Yeah.
Because like hustle, like we've talked about,
Yep.
is so ingrained in us. And like for me, sometimes I'm like, wait, I have this much output right now as a manager, but it's because I can work that extra X number of hours if I need to on the weekend or in the evenings to get the work done. what am I gonna do when I have a kid that like needs me and I can't, like I physically cannot, and like I just have that boundary? And what will the team think? And what will Laura think as a co-founder to be like, you're not putting in the work that you used to, even though I know like that's just like a story
you
that
thing.
I'm making up in my head and not the truth.
Yeah.
But that's terrifying.
That's when you're gonna have to pull that list out again.
Yeah, that's
is it a
true.
story
Yeah,
or is it
I
true?
know,
And you have to
yeah.
be like, it's
and
not.
I know it's a story, but like it's just such a scary unknown. And then also like being an anxious person, something that I'm anxious about is like physical health, and like I'm someone that loves health and wellness, and I also like work out, like not only for health but also like to make sure like I maintain like my physical appearance too. And not gonna lie, the idea of being pregnant and like having to go through that period of like postpartum depression possibly, or like what that will look like, and then having to lose all that weight, that's also really scary. And
That's
I feel like
real,
not a lot of women talk about that.
Yeah.
So it's just so much unknown. But at the end of the day, like if you want the family, you kind of have to go through a lot of these challenges. So yeah, come find us in a couple of years.
Yeah,
and
we'll
keep you
revisit this
posted.
conversation.
Yeah.
There'll be
Next time
like
instead
two
of
babies
Ella,
on the
yeah.
couch. Ella will be somewhere else because
Oh
the
my gosh.
poor dogs get left
Yeah.
behind.
They do
after
get left
kids
behind
come.
after
No, and that's
kids.
another thing. I actually told Jason, I was like, we cannot forget about Ella.
Yeah.
She's our firstborn.
Aww.
Whenever the time comes, we have to walk her every day like we used to. And he's like,
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
See. Yeah.
Poor Ella. She's
Yeah.
getting all the cuddles in now.
I know.
Good. Get it while you can, little
Yeah.
girl.
I love that you brought up how much you love your life now,
Yeah.
actually, because I did want to ask you guys about that in terms of what your sort of ideal day or weekend is where you guys just love it. And it's not, obviously, there's times where you have to work. There's like that work integration where you're checking emails or something's going on. But tell me like a beautiful day in Laura or Connie's life.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about like a typical Sunday, because the way that Jason and I have crafted our weekends now, I think would be pretty ideal. So Sunday mornings, we have like a slow morning, make myself a matcha, or a coffee if I'm really tired. I
Me
use
and Laura are like,
We're like, no,
we don't want to be
don't like
there.
matcha.
Yeah.
Hey, I've convinced Jason, and originally he wasn't a big fan. I think the secret is the bar milk from Nut Bar.
We do love Nut Bar milk,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
prefer it in a smoothie than matcha.
That's
Yeah.
true, that's true. And then I'll journal, like sitting over there and just like get all my thoughts out. I did morning pages for a while. Have you done The Artist's Way?
Yes.
Yeah, so I got into the habit after reading that book. And then after that, I'll go to Pilates. I love Legree. I know Laura's a big fan of reformer as well. So usually every Sunday morning, I'll do Legree. And then that's like my me time. Like what I love about Pilates, even though I'm mostly a strength training girl, is that it's like one of the only times that I'm not thinking.
Yes.
Like it fully turns off my brain, because I just have to be so focused on that movement, or else you'll like fall and hurt yourself. So that's my ideal morning. Come back. Jason's usually started on brunch, and then like we'll cook together, catch up, have some reading time on the couch.
That's
like
cute.
this is a couch that you can just like sink into.
Yeah, I love it.
Bring Ella on a hike, call my parents. Like I have a reminder on my phone to FaceTime them every week, so it comes on Sundays. And then if I'm seeing friends, like it'll be for dinner, or like go out with Jason for a double date or something. And then also Sundays, I usually prep for work, and like I actually don't mind that there's work prep on Sundays. I think it's all about like work-life integration. And I love what I do. So it's actually really fun to be able to look at the week ahead and be like, what am I going to do? Strategize like where my focus blocks are. As you guys know, I'm very type A. So I'm very protective of my focus blocks in my calendar, and like figuring out where my highest energy is, and like aligning my focus blocks with my highest energy time of day. And then at night, I always like unwind with a really nice skincare routine, which is my ritual, stretch, and then read in bed. So like, honestly, it's like
simple
pretty
things.
simple. Yeah, I don't think
It's
there's
the simple
anything
things.
crazy.
I mean, mine is very similar. I like to kind of bucket my weekend days. So Friday night, ideal would be going on some sort of date night with Chris. It's a great way for us to like kind of cap off the week, have some really quality one-on-one time together. Saturday is usually my day that I do social things. So I don't like to do stuff around the house on that day. I don't really like to do work on that day. It's my time to do things that I really want to do, usually with friends. So whether that's going out in the evening or meeting up with somebody for brunch, then doing a workout afterwards, or meeting up with my sisters. Like Saturday is usually the day that I do social stuff. And then Sunday is a day that I like to prep for the week ahead, very similar to what Connie said. I think we're both like big Sunday preppers. I have a favorite yoga teacher that I've been seeing for now like almost 2 years, which is kind of crazy. So I go to her Sunday morning classes, which are an hour and a half. And so that's just such a nice way to get a day started. Usually I'll grab a smoothie from the smoothie bar downstairs at that yoga studio. And then I'll do our meal prep typically. So if I have a lot of work that I need to catch up on, then Chris will do the meal prep. If I don't have as much work to catch up on, and maybe he has more stuff that he wants to do around the house because he's very handy. So he's been renovating our house like
Yes.
top to bottom for the last
Amazing.
couple of years. So that tends to be his weekends. So lately I've been doing a lot of the meal prep. So I'll do grocery shopping while listening to a true crime podcast.
Oh,
It's one of my
fun.
like guilty pleasures. And then I'll come back, meal prep. So we make all of our food for the week in advance. So then like we have lunches ready to go and dinners ready to go all the way up until Friday. So from Sunday night until Friday, like afternoon. Usually I'll have the football game on while that's going on if it's football season. I love NFL.
Oh,
It's
fun.
like
I don't think I knew that about
big,
you.
big,
I
big
love that.
Cowboys fan. Yeah, I actually took my dad to a game, which was like on both of our bucket lists to go to one of their home games.
That's awesome.
So I did that earlier this year, which was just such a cool, fun experience.
Aw, I love that.
So yeah, I'll watch football. And then sometimes once a month, usually we'll host or go over to my sister's place for a family dinner with them. But then otherwise it's just kind of unwinding and chilling. Yeah.
Yeah, because your weeks are full and then it's nice to go back to the simplicity. And that's why it's so
100%.
it's like just something you treasure, whether it's
really
just it's a
is.
smoothie or it's a matcha or it's just a class or it's time with people you love. Like
Yeah.
that's when it feels really nourishing and fulfilling.
Yeah.
So
And I'm not a morning person. Like my ideal wake up time is like around probably I'd say 8:15 to 8:30. I don't like waking up early. My brain does not kick in very early either. And so I think that's probably one of the areas that I'm going to miss most down the road if and when we do have children is that like morning bed rot time that I cherish so deeply.
they
Like
better sleep in.
yeah, they better.
Yeah.
They better be good sleepers. I was a great sleeper as a kid, so I hope they
Was
inherit that.
Chris?
No, he was a very
Oh, no.
colicky baby apparently because he had acid reflux,
Oh.
and so I have the whole scoop from
Oh
my
my God, that's so
mother-in-law. So yeah, hopefully they take more after my side when it comes to their sleeping habits.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm going to miss most is like the ability to sleep in and stay in bed until like 10 o'clock. Like so nice.
It's interesting what you said about the weekends and the simple things, but I always wonder because I know we've had conversations like this that we try to sort of make everything productive. So do you guys struggle with that at all? Where it's like, you know, Connie and I have talked about this. It's like, oh, if you want to hang out, maybe we should do a workout class. You're doing a 2-in-1. It's like a 2-in-1 deal
Oh
of
my gosh. Yeah.
ticking off 2 things off that list that you have. But do you find that you have to kind of work against that natural tendency to make everything about productivity?
I have had to work a lot on this, and I think Laura remembers what it used to be like and when we first started working together. Like I remember I used to bring my laptop into the bath with me to like catch up on emails as I was taking a bath to make it productive. So I was like doing neither well because then I would be like having
Yeah.
typos and I wouldn't be relaxing. And then the water would get cold. I'd be like, what was that for really? So like I've had to learn to recognize that. I know it's so cliche, but like rest is productive, but it really is.
Yeah.
Because like those Sunday days that we just described, like, and even Saturdays, most of the time I try not to work on Saturdays. By the time Sunday rolls around, my brain's clear, especially after like doing Pilates and all the things that by the time Sunday afternoon comes and I'm like ready to sit down, I'm good. Versus if I had worked through the whole weekend, I would not be able to be as focused as what I'm able to accomplish. So it is something that I've had to work on. I think though, like there's a difference between trying to make everything productive and finding ways to like habit stack or like kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak, which I'm still okay with. So for example, my friends who I know like Pilates or like my friends who I know like to go to Barry's, if we want to catch up, one of us will usually suggest to the other person, do you want to like tack on a hangout to a workout class and then do brunch or a coffee before and after? And I actually think that's okay to like weave your friends or your family into your schedule as long as like you're meeting them halfway. Like they're not always coming to your neighborhood to do workouts, like you're going out to them too. So I think like that's the difference between like habit stacking or like trying to fit 2 things in one time slot versus trying to optimize every minute of every day.
Yeah.
And that latter thing is what I'm trying to work on.
Yeah, I agree with that. And my favorite thing lately is doing a restorative yoga class. It's the new thing that I just go, and honestly, half the people in the room are napping for an hour. It's so funny because they actually said it's equivalent to like 5 hours of sleep if you get a
so
true deep
revitalizing.
restorative rest. Now I feel like Connie's going to do this
Yeah,
with me.
like,
She's like, wait,
okay.
what? But you literally just you're lying in maybe like 4 or 5 positions the whole class, and suddenly it's like it flies by like that, but you feel so deeply nourished and rested. And sometimes I've had to convince myself that that is more productive than it is necessarily to do like a really hardcore workout class. I love both, but there's like a time and place where sometimes you just need to rest and chill, and that's okay too.
100%.
I wanted to talk to you guys about your vision of like life moving forward. So when you look at, obviously there's the business side of it. So you have goals with the company that you want to achieve, but I want to hear both about the business side and personally as humans, just like where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years time, whatever that timeline looks like for you?
I mean, we've talked about kids already. I think that would be on both mine and Connie's goals for the future. I would love to have 2 kids. Originally I wanted 4, but I've settled on 2 kids and 2 fur babies. So hopefully right now we just have 1 cat. So hopefully 2 human children
And then another pet.
1 dog. Like that would be the ideal. I would love to probably live somewhere that isn't the core of Toronto, whether that's outside of the GTA or potentially out on the East Coast, which is where Chris's family is. So maybe living in Halifax. I love Toronto for what it does for like the early stages of your career, but I just can't fathom because I wasn't born and raised here. I was born and raised in Kingston, which is a much smaller town. It's like 120,000 people. And so I can't envision what it would look like to raise a family in the downtown core. It just, it's too dissimilar from my own childhood. And so that would be another similar thing. And then spending lots of time with my family. Like my sister is also at the stage and she's starting to think about kids, and I really want the cousins to be really close together. So ideally they would get to spend lots of time together. And then otherwise there aren't really specific visions I have of life, like just live a simple, healthy life, be able to still be active, like being able to be like our own people as well, I think is really important.
Like don't lose your identity.
Yeah. Maybe the business will have sold by that point because that's where eventually Connie and I want the business to get to. In order for it to have real longevity beyond us, it has to find a home with like somebody outside of us as individuals. And also we would love to take 3 ships internationally overseas, but I don't believe that we're necessarily the right people to do that. It's a very hard thing to do. And so we'd want assistance from an outside party to help with the international expansion. So maybe that would have happened by then. But otherwise, like, honestly, like life is pretty good right now.
I
truly.
love that.
I think it's because we're intentional about designing our life right now to be the closest as what we can to our ideal life.
Yeah.
Like even as she was talking, I was like, what are the things that I would change? Like I know that we talk about like our rich life and like that concept. Like I have a list on my obviously I have a list on my phone of what my rich life is in like different buckets. And so,
are
like,
they color coded? There's a legend.
There's different emojis.
There's a table of contents.
Yeah. So different emojis for the different
emojis.
I love it.
But like, you know,
you're gonna need to write a book on your systems one day.
yeah,
I feel like
I'm
maybe
such a
that's your next
process
thing.
girl.
Yeah, there's so many processes and systems. It's amazing.
But like, you know, instead of maybe going for a massage once a month, which is what I do now to take care of myself, maybe in the future it'd be once every 2 weeks. But it's like I'm already doing the things to get myself there, and I don't think the leap would actually be that different.
It's like a 2 millimeter shift. I hear this all the time, that it's like actually if you're carving out your life intentionally, it really is just a 2 millimeter shift, and suddenly you're in that direction of getting all the things that you want. You're kind of living it out now, but it's just you get a little bit more of it or more time, or it feels more abundant. So
and like there's something that I do every year, and it's a free resource called the Compass Year in Review, which you can just Google that. You do too.
I'll put the link in there. Yeah, you've told me about this, and I think it's great. You do this every year
for years and years, and it's a great way to reflect on your past year and all the different buckets of your year, and like the friends that were closest to you, and did you spend enough time with them, and all these things. So it's a great moment in time for me to reflect, like, did I actually live my life the way that I thought I would at the end of last year? Another thing that Jason and I do is a wheel of life, where it like literally looks like a wheel, and each slice is a different section of your life. So it's like maybe like spirituality, work, health, etc. And like you shade in that pie from 1 to 10
and see how wonky it is.
Yeah, and
when the wheel's not fully round,
see where it's uneven.
Yes.
So I feel like with these sorts of tools, I've been able to like kind of massage my life closer to the way I want. Opposite to Laura, because I grew up in Toronto, I know what it's like to be a kid growing up here. I didn't grow up downtown though, and I agree downtown is a little chaotic for a kid.
Yeah.
But Jason and I can see ourselves moving more midtown, but always somewhere close to the highway, easy to get to both sets of parents. So yeah, it's a bright future ahead.
I love it. And I want to ask a fun question to both of you, because if you obviously have gotten to know each other really well. If you weren't doing the work that you're doing now, so if you weren't building three ships, I want to know, Laura, what you think Connie would be good at doing, and Connie, what do you think Laura would be good at
Oh,
doing?
that's such an interesting
I know
question.
what you
Or
would
what
do.
you could see each other
I know what you would do.
doing.
You'd be an interior designer and you'd
Mm.
work with Chris, and Chris can build the homes and you would decorate.
Oh my
I
gosh,
would love that
she's
and be the
figured it
designer.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could
I
be
can
the next
100% see that
chapter.
for you.
It could be the next chapter. I know that Connie, what she really wants to be is be a published author. And so I would love for
That's
that
so
to
funny. I just
be
said you should
something.
write a book.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
About
Yeah.
the processes.
So I would love
Boring.
for that to be something that she would have been doing. I don't know that you would have been doing that though. If like three ships had never happened, I'm not sure that
Yeah.
you would have the confidence to do something
I
like
don't think
that, or that
so.
you would feel like you'd
Or
No,
even
it's
the
like
content
after
to fill
three
a
ships,
book.
maybe. This is
yeah,
like,
this
what's
is more
the
of an
next
after three
phase?
ships thing that I
Yeah.
could see Connie like being a consultant for other founders, because I know that she loves like
Mm.
mentoring and helping people, and then probably also writing a book. And
You know, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I wanted to be a writer. Did I tell you that?
No.
Yeah, and then on my first business trip that I went on with my dad when I was 6, one of his colleagues asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I told him I want to be a writer or a teacher. And he was like, one of those, you're going to make no money and you're going to be poor. And then the other one, you're going to make a little bit of money but still be poor.
And you're like, well, it can't be
I
it.
was like,
That's very
oh my
encouraging.
God, that was like so
all the
traumatizing.
things we've collected in our childhoods,
That's
all
what
people
traumas,
telling
And then
us.
I became an anxious child from that point forward.
Like, I'm just undoing
You didn't
everything
believe
I
in your
heard.
dreams
Yeah,
because they were immediately
yeah, 'cause
shot
of the
Well,
down.
you know
sky.
what? It's like you can actually make a lot of money after being an author. You hit that New York Times bestseller list and you're fine.
You're
So
good.
Funny is
yeah.
like you were just saying, like you could see me being a mentor, which is what I really want. And put a different way, that's kind of being a teacher.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
like a writer and a
100%.
teacher.
Yeah,
it all comes
it
full
all comes
circle,
back.
guys.
It really does.
Yeah.
But I think if it weren't for three ships, I could see you having been a retail buyer. Like I know that you were more on the brand
Yeah.
side before, but I could see you really enjoying the buying.
Yeah, like merchandising. and stuff.
Merchandising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I think you'd still be in retail of some kind.
Yeah, I remember when I was at Queens, I applied for a role at Aritzia, like corporate, did not get it. But I remember like that type of role was a dream job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I have 2 last questions for you guys. The first being, who is someone that you've each been in the room with that has left an impact on you, where you've just been inspired by maybe a conversation you had, a piece of advice they've given, or it could just be their energy and you were just like, oh, that was an incredible experience.
This is a recent one, so I'm biased from recency bias. But Barb, who's the founder of Seven Virtues, I was at a dinner that she was at, and she was like co-hosting it last week. And she's just such a force. Like she said a few words at the start of the meal for probably only like 5 or 10 minutes. But I was just so blown away by her confidence and her poise and her vision that she had and her belief in what she was building with Seven Virtues. So it's quite a substantial fragrance brand now. And she's somebody who just, it was her energy that just really struck me. And so that's probably a very recent example, but that's immediately what came to mind. Yeah.
Someone for me that I remember, he said something that actually changed the way that I thought about building the company was back when I think we were even still new bodied. Remember Josh Dominguez from Flash
Yeah.
Food? So a local founder, Josh Dominguez, he told us, he said, don't let being a co-founder of a cool brand be your full identity. And he brought up examples of how in the past he had friends who played hockey professionally and that was their whole identity. And then when they retired, they didn't know who they were. They hadn't focused on their relationships in their lives. And like some fell into depression. And that always stuck with me. And it actually changed the way I thought about my relationship with Three Ships. Because I was like, I want to make sure that I'm still like a good wife. Well, back then it was a girlfriend, but like good girlfriend / wife, good friend, good daughter, good sister, because like at the end of the day, those relationships are like the most important.
Yeah.
And work will always be there. So I'm so grateful that he gave us that advice. And it's actually one that changed the way that I live and operate.
Yeah, I love that. It's like I've heard so many times success without fulfillment is completely meaningless. So you have
success
to
without people to share it with.
exactly. So it's like you don't have those elements of life around you, then that is why a lot of people like celebrities or musicians or founders even, you come off this like high of building this thing and you're climbing the mountain and then suddenly you're like, what now? And you feel really lost or unfulfilled. So it's great to know that throughout the journey so you can keep that with you. The last question I have for you is, who is somebody that you want to be in the room with that you haven't got to be? What? Oh my gosh, yes.
Green.
I know what you're going to say. We're obsessed with Emma Green. If you
Emma,
can't
if you're
tell,
listening, or if you know someone who knows Emma, a particular activating
reach out
system,
to us. Yes.
I just think she's such a badass.
I know. I want to go to one of those dinners that she
Oh
hosts.
my
That's like my
gosh, I
dream table to
know.
be at.
Yeah,
Just put me in a
yeah.
room with all of those powerhouse women, and
Yeah.
it's yeah.
And like what I like about her is that, and for those that don't know her, she's like the co-founder of Skims, Good American. She's writing a book. Another reason why I'm obsessed. She has 4 kids.
Yeah.
Great relationship from what it seems from the outside.
All the things.
Yeah.
All the things.
Amazing wardrobe.
Oh yeah, those
and
outfits.
What I really like about her is that she's very open about all the support that she's had. Like, she's very open about having like nannies and like, you know, a chef for her kids and everything. And I like that transparency, because I think a lot of women will try to come across, and I hope like we don't come across this way, but a lot of women will try to come across like they didn't have any help and like they've been able to do it all.
Right.
And so I really admire that, like, while she still shows her like amazing life, she's very open about all the support.
Yeah, you can tell that it seems very authentic.
Yeah.
So I love that. What about you, Laura?
I always struggle with these questions because I don't know that I have anybody that I'm like, oh, I would really love to sit down and chat with them. Because I'm not sure how much like one conversation would make me feel completely different. I don't know that I've had those paradigm shifts from like strangers of them telling me something that's like then completely blows my mind and changes my world. Because I think I need to see the same data many different times, and I don't
that's
take
the
things
science background in you.
and I don't usually take things at face value. And I'm
Yeah.
somebody that's very I'm more introverted, and so for me to feel really close to somebody, I need to have spent quite a bit of time with them. So it's a hard question. Like, I feel like I would go with something just really straightforward of like Barack Obama, and understanding what do those rooms look like that you're in when you're at like that stage within your career and within the world, and like how do you feel as a human when you're going through those challenging times. But I feel like that's maybe a bit of an obvious answer.
No, I love that. But I was going to ask you, actually building on that it's really interesting, the rooms that you then put yourself in, where do you maybe feel the most comfortable, or the most like having the ability to have an honest, deep conversation? Who is that with in your life then?
If it's definitely like closest friends, and my sisters and Chris and my family.
Yeah,
and
so you have that
like
system
direct,
around you.
Yeah, direct like core group of friends. Like those are the things that I look forward to and really like crave and spend time around. I don't enjoy networking events. I'm not great at them. I probably appear fine outwardly, but inwardly, like Connie and I both have Aura rings, and it's so funny, like tracking my stress levels when I'm at
it goes up.
any sort of networking event. Oh, it spikes up, just super stress. And I'm not usually somebody that operates in that realm. Like, I'm usually more in the engaged and relaxed kind of zone. And so it's just not a thing that I enjoy. And this sounds funny, but I don't know that I love meeting new people. Like, I think I love getting to know people at a deep level. I'm not sure that I like meeting new people.
Yeah.
Like, even when I think of some of the parties that you've hosted, like chatted with Oliver for like over an hour. And then the last time that I was there, I chatted with another like couple.
You find
for
the
an hour and a
person that
half.
you can go deep with.
Yeah,
and then you have a
exactly.
conversation, you build a connection
and
off of it.
that's usually more of my focus, rather than like going really broad.
That is more introverted energy. That's
very
because you
introverted
just
energy.
find yourself you sort of gain energy from that deep conversation
100%.
versus meeting all the people in the room and schmoozing, and it's just a personality type, which is
I'm not a social butterfly, but I'm also not a wallflower. Like, I have strong opinions, and I'm not scared of social situations, but I definitely thrive more off of the one-to-one connection and really getting to know the deep things about people. So I don't know, honestly, that I would get too much out of like one conversation with one person. I really don't think that would have a big impact on me as a person or on my life.
Yeah, well, that's
and who knows,
totally
maybe
fair.
there's some person I'll meet that will change my perspective on this at some point.
Yeah.
But it probably wouldn't be someone very obvious I'd be able to name if that did happen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for having this conversation with me and being in the room with me. I've loved it. I could do this all day with you guys. So thanks
flew by.
Yeah, it's literally getting
flew
dark
by.
out.
Yeah, it's getting dark out. Thank you for sharing so much of yourselves and your lives. And I just appreciate it.
Having us.
Thanks,
So great.
guys.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share it with someone you love, leave a review so that others can discover these beautiful stories and experiences too. You can find me and learn more about the show at palakdave.com, where the conversation continues beyond this episode. See you in the room next time, where life is lived and stories are shared. Take care.